Radio. The Founding Fathers guaranteed equal rights, not equal things. What was it you were saying about health care?
Welcome back to Momentum Radio on AM 580 WDBO. My name is Ray. I'm your congenial host, Watchdog, America's loose cannon. Welcome, fellow loose cannons, to the part of the show that I think most people have been waiting for someone to say the things that I am about to say. Hold on to your seats, gang. Buckle up the seatbelts. This is no holds barred. So the president addressed us this week, and Mr. President, this is my address to you. Here we go. Mr. President, before I address you, I have a few words for the American people. In the interest of full disclosure, I am a Republican. And any of you watching or listening to this who turn me off just for revealing that fact are a part of the mindless masses from both sides of the aisle who the politicians speak of when they say that you follow your party blindly with no real scrutiny of those who lead you. Both sides of the aisle suffer from this disease. We need to stop fighting each other and start fighting the corruption in Washington, which bleeds down both sides of the aisle. Democrats and Republicans, stop disliking each other the moment you find out the other person is a different party, just because they are in a different party. Stop assuming they are dumb or stupid or ignorant and follow blindly. They, like you, love their country and are passionate about their issues, just like you. Stop fighting each other and start fighting the corruption. And now to you, Mr. President. I sat and listened intensely to your speech regarding health care before both houses of Congress the other night. I have seen some slick politicians in the past, Mr. President, but to quote an old cliche, you absolutely take the cake. And rather than giving a long, perfunctory introduction, allow me to just dive into the details. You said, we spend 1.5 times on health care than any other country, and we're not healthier for it. This is why premiums have gone up 3.5 times more than wages, you said. You said this is why small businesses force employees to pay for their own insurance or drop their coverage. You said this is why entrepreneurs cannot afford to open a business in the first place. And you said this is why businesses, like automakers, can't compete internationally. For someone with access to the types of resources you command, the teams of researchers and analysts with virtually unlimited resources for research and funding, if this is the conclusion you've come to, that businesses are struggling financially because of a health care cost, then there are only 3 possibilities. 1, you are extremely naive. 2, you're stupid. 3, a deep-rooted agenda to fool the American people resides within you. I do not think you're naive, and I do not think you're stupid. First of all, if we are not healthier than any other country, then do explain to me why people pour into our country by the thousands every year specifically to get health care from us, even though they come from countries that have government type of health care that you're trying to enact now. Furthermore, you said premiums have gone up 1.5 times more than any other country, which is why health care costs have gone up 3.5 times wages. This is a cyclical argument and doesn't even make sense. Essentially, you're saying that because health care costs have gone up, this means health care costs have gone up. My. You're a slick one, sir. If you just study the argument, it's all cyclical. You didn't actually say anything. Now, if, as you claim, the cost of health care is what's causing entrepreneurs who specialize in beating costs down through competition to not even open their doors to begin with, why would you not start with competition in healthcare as your solution by allowing all insurance companies to compete across state lines? If that's the solution in business, as you've stated, then it's clearly at least part of the solution in healthcare. And allow me to educate you on something, sir. American automakers have trouble competing, not because of healthcare, but because of embedded taxes to the tune of 22% in each vehicle they manufacture. Government regulation and ridiculous environmental standards are also a huge factor. And it gets worse overseas. If a foreign car manufacturer makes and sells a car in the United States, they pay taxes only to the U.S. government because their own government, in most scenarios, is smart enough to credit back their home country taxes to them. But if a U.S. car maker makes a car overseas, they pay double taxes. First to the foreign country, then to the U.S. They are double taxed. And you want to talk to me about healthcare being their problem? Dr. Seuss would be proud of the fiction you can write. Now, if we could just get you to make speeches that rhyme. You said, if we don't slow down the cost of health care, we will be spending more on Medicare and Medicaid than all other government spending combined. You said, put simply, healthcare is our deficit problem. Nothing else even comes close. You then went on to talk about how you'd pay for this. You said Medicare and Medicaid would not be eliminated. You then went on to say, the only thing this plan eliminates is waste and abuse by insurance companies, of which you have admitted the government is a big part of, by admitting that Medicare and Medicaid significantly wasted taxpayer dollars by the billions. But Mr. President, this waste and abuse is not isolated to Medicare and Medicaid. It's all throughout government. Medicare's broke. Medicaid's broke. Social Security is broke. The post office is broke. And the list goes on and on and on. And yet you continue to stand firm that you, as a government, can solve this waste and turn it into a new and functioning program. When, in the last 100 years of the U.S. government, has the government ever managed a program of any kind or any size that has not been a total and complete economic disaster? And why should we believe you when you say this one will be better or different? But more to the point, Mr. President, do you actually think we believe you when you say this will not increase the deficit at all, ever? Those are your words, not ever. You pointed to this, quote, fact multiple times during your speech. You insisted under no circumstances would anything ever be added to the deficit for this massive and expensive reform you propose. Not one president in our history has ever delivered on that promise when it comes to a massive government program. Not once in American history has any government official been able to deliver on a promise like this ever. And you want us to believe you can deliver on it with the largest and most massive restructuring of our government and our healthcare system ever proposed? Do you actually think we're this stupid? Especially after what you have personally added to the budget along with George Bush, I might add. More to the point was your explanation of how you're going to pay for this and keep it from adding to the deficit. You said, and I quote, reducing the wastes and inefficiencies in Medicare will pay for most of this. So you're saying you're going to clean up Medicare and Medicaid, make it all hunky-dory again, and then you'll simply have billions of dollars laying around to play with to completely restructure our healthcare system. Let me tell you two things, Mr. President. First of all, if you were even able to accomplish such an enormous task, which you are not, those billions and billions of dollars you save are not yours to respend as you see fit. That is our hard-earned money, and you better damn well give it back to us. And that is not a request, it's a demand. Second, you, sir, are one of the best liars in quite some time. But even this one didn't get past the Democrats who trust you, and it certainly didn't get past the rest of us. You have neither the clout nor the wherewithal to single-handedly overhaul a system as corrupt, ineffective, and broke as Medicaid or Medicare, and at the same time clean it up and drive out the corruption that wastes all the dollars you think you can save. So do us all a favor and stop insulting our intelligence. If you're going to lie to us, at least make it something believable. Then you actually had the audacity to say this regarding where the rest of the money would come from. Much of the rest will come, this is your quote, much of the rest will come from insurance companies who will get tens of millions of new customers. We will charge insurance companies a fee for their most expensive policies. As if this weren't enough, you then went on to claim that doing this, bilking money indirectly out of the wealthy, would actually encourage them to provide greater value for their money. I don't even know what that means. This is exactly what screwed up our tax system. It's called a graduated system that pits one class of earners against another, the poor against the wealthy in most cases. And just in case you didn't know, the tax system that we now have was designed by Karl Marx. It's number 2 in his Communist Manifesto for turning a nation away from any other form of government into a communist regime. It's called graduated tax system. No, sir, you are not to touch the insurance companies and overregulate and overcomplicate their infrastructure by giving them a class-based warfare system that bilks money off their most expensive policyholders. We've tried this in the U.S. and it's resulted in double-digit unemployment. The solution isn't to keep bilking money out of the wealthy as Karl Marx promulgated. It's to lower the burden on them so they have more money to provide jobs. The more you take from them, the higher unemployment goes. When will you learn that lesson? And yes, I know you'd like to blame all of that on George Bush, of whom I am no fan either. But allow me to remind you of one tiny little important detail everybody seems to forget. In the last 8 months since you took office, you have spent more money than every other administration in the history of the United States combined.